Call going 5, 4, 3.
Hello, my friends. I'm Ezra Levant, and it is April the 6th. I'm here in our Rebel World headquarters in Toronto doing my daily live stream. It's what YouTube calls a super chat. That means to the right of your screen, you should be able to see a bunch of chats. Your comments can be in there, and if you chip in a few dollars or pounds or rupees, I've seen various currencies, it makes your comment in bright highlighted color, and it sticks to the top of that little chat box there. I see it out of the corner of my eye, and I make my point to read them all, and YouTube actually shares 70% of those revenues with us, which is important when you're an independent journalistic outfit like ours, because we simply don't take any money from the government, not that any would be offered. We have a focus on the coronavirus, as we always do on these live streams. I was reminded by a friend who knows more than me that a coronavirus is a kind of virus. So when you say coronavirus, everyone's talking about novel coronavirus 19, COVID-19. And I have stayed away from using that because it's jargon, it's fake, it sounds like a fake expertise. And frankly, I prefer Chinese virus because it's more accurate. But there are various coronaviruses, and the one that's just wreaking havoc on the world is this particular COVID-19. And I guess I was reminded of that, that there could be other coronaviruses out there. And in fact, some tests for a coronavirus may test for any coronavirus, not the one that seems to have come from a Chinese virus lab. Now, we showed you this the other day. Can we call up the Chinese propaganda vid? Everyone says that this virus came from people eating bats, and you shouldn't eat a bat. You certainly shouldn't eat a bat raw, or God forbid, alive. And there's some very strange culinary practices in parts of China. But I was staggered last week to discover that the so-called wet market in Wuhan is not a wet market, it's a seafood market. And according to local media reports and interviews done by researchers with 59 people at that market, locals and visitors, they just didn't sell any bats there. It was a seafood market. So the theory that this came from people buying bats at the wet market in Wuhan. Can we also call up that? Do you need me to send you the link again for the research paper by Bo Tao Xiao?
Give me a second.
So two professors from Wuhan, scholars, well-published scholars, dozens of academic works peer-reviewed and published, or published at ResearchGate. That doesn't necessarily indicate they were peer-reviewed. Bo Tao Xiao in particular, a PhD who got his PhD at Northwestern University in Chicago. He had 2 undergrad degrees in China, got his PhD in America, went back to Wuhan. So this is a smart cookie. Him and his fellow scientists tried to hunt down where did this virus come. Yeah, so this was the study. I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but scooch down if you will. And I recommend this. Do we have this linked? We should link this somewhere on our website if we don't. So the possible origins of 2019 novel coronavirus. So these are really legit guys. I spent some time looking through their credentials, checking their university, checking their publication record. So these are real guys. Scroll down. It's only a 2 or 3 page study here. The map is what I want to show you. So this is a map. Do you see the Wuhan Center for Disease Control and Prevention? That's at the bottom there. And right across there's restaurants and there's coffee shops. There's actually a hospital right around there. So their virus lab is 280 meters just across the road there from the Huanan seafood market. And indeed, that Huanan seafood market that I understand has since been destroyed. Original press reports say it was being renovated. I heard just yesterday the place is completely bulldozed. Sorry, not the seafood. I've heard that the seafood market was renovated. I heard that the Center for Disease Control was bulldozed. I heard that yesterday from someone who has been dealing with China. I want to confirm that. But here's the theory that these two professors have, is that it didn't come from bats in the seafood market, as the word seafood suggests. It's not a bat kind of place. But there would be pee and blood from the animals in that Center for Disease Control. Bats, I don't mean to be gross, but they pee and they have blood. And that those would have been thrown out in the regular garbage, and that they would have infected perhaps a person who went for lunch to the seafood market. Because what's in that study, and I'm not going to go deep into it now, but I did two videos on this last week. There were no bats sold at the seafood market, according to 59 eyewitnesses and local reports. But there very much were bats in that virus lab. According to that study by Bo Tao Xiao and the other professor, the kind of bat involved isn't even local to Wuhan. It was brought there by some virus hunters. And it most likely was spread to the neighborhood because they thought they'd put a high security bat virus research lab right in the middle of the city, right next to restaurants and hospitals and the seafood market. So this video here, thank you, Justin, for finding it. This is a propaganda video, and we showed you a bit of this last week. They're bragging about, those are bats. It's highly risky here. It takes several days, livings in the bat caves. Look at that. They're taking blood samples, pee samples, lice and bugs. Those are bats. From these bats, they put a net over there. Look how worried he is about inhaling stuff from these bats. I take every step very cautiously. The more I feel fear, the more I take caution. So that's the bat hero right there. Look at that. So he takes ticks. Those are ticks and flies and fleas. Now, I don't know if you see, he put a net. Look at that. He put a net over, you see that? That's the net. They're putting a net over the entrance to the cave. So they catch the bats in the net. And then they grab them and they take them back to the lab. Or they'll just take blood or pee samples right there. So he's catching a tick. So they're harvesting ticks from bats. Look at that. Imagine being in there. I've gone spelunking a couple times in my life. That's where you go through caves. I don't think I'm ever gonna go into a cave again. So that's that video there. I don't know if you can do this. Can you scroll forward to the part? It's right near the end where they brag about how many viruses they've discovered. So that video there I was showing you was official Chinese broadcast propaganda boasting about, right here. So this is a frame near the end of it. Let's just read this together. Nearly 2,000 types of viruses have been discovered by the Chinese Centers for Disease Control authorities over the last 12 years. Only 2,284 types of viruses had been discovered worldwide over the 200 years prior to China's discovery. China has taken the lead in the world in the field of basic research of virus. This is the propaganda. They broadcast this nationwide. That virus hunter, they called him a hero. Can you go to where he has the open vials? There's this image in that video. We got the whole video up elsewhere on our YouTube channel if you want to see it. Can you find the part where he's wheeling this cart through the virus lab and it's got these like jiggly open vials of stuff? And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a virus expert. I'm not a bat expert. Pretty much I'm not an expert at anything. But holy moly, maybe, yeah, look at that. Right there. Can you go back there just a tiny bit? Yeah. Okay, so look at that cart. You see, it's a metal cart. It's a trolley, I'm going to call that. And you can see on the trolley there's a little fence, right? It looks like a little guardrail. And there's 2 vials of red stuff and then a vial of green stuff. Now those colors just don't look right to me for blood or urine, but they were talking about blood and urine both in the paper by Boris and this video. Where's the guardrail on the right-hand side there? There's just a tiny little lip on this trolley. There's no lid on these things. Can you go back 5 more seconds and play it through this? This is, I mean, so there's the virus hunter. So they're looking at the ticks there, and they're just pushing the trolley. That's Tian Junhua. I work in virus sample collection. I'm a defender of indivisible defense line. So he's pushing the trolley. There's a little bit of the Black Death for you in case you need to raise your spirits a bit. Yeah, so thanks, China. Look, I don't know what those were. Was that blood and urine? I don't know. He's in a virus lab. He wasn't even wearing a face mask then. There was no little guardrail there. That just gave me the willies. I think I missed a super chat, by the way. Let me catch up on that. Troy S., $5. Great to see you today, Ezra. Hope you and the awesome staff at Rebel stay safe and keep fighting the good fight. Well, thank you very much. So far, we are staying safe. And I just can't stop thinking about that paper by Boris and his colleague, which showed that the virus lab was just a couple hundred meters from the seafood market where it apparently spread. It's so obvious to me that someone went there for lunch. If you like seafood. All right, we showed that yesterday, so I'm not going to go deeper on that. I showed you some images there. Can we use the video of the Montreal plague mask guy, or do you only have the still images? Okay, let's use a still image if you want to find the other viz in the meantime. Here's an image of just click on any one of those, one with a nice beak. Yeah, so that there, now that's a modern one. But can we find, look at the drawing there. When I was in Venice, I went to a store that sold these almost as a fashion thing in the medieval style. Yeah, even the one in the left there, go 3 over to the left and then up. Yeah, that one. Can you zoom in that a bit? Okay, so these are modern replications of a plague mask. What is a plague mask? Yeah, so that's a modern version. I don't think that's an actual medieval plague mask. May I comment on what we see here? First of all, there's a little bit of social distancing if you've got that pointy beak. Second of all, what's with the beak? Well, it was a kind of mask, and in the beak, they would have medicines of sort, powder, herbal cures, things that the apothecary would grind up. Either, I've read, to stop the foul stench of the plague-filled air, or maybe for medicinal purposes, whatever it is. But it was a mask, so you weren't breathing other people's air. You could have stuff in it. There was a little bit of social distancing, and it showed that you were at least attentive to the problem at hand. And look at that. There's a video of a fella walking down the street. He's got his gloves, He got his plague hat on. This is apparently from Montreal. There's a fellow wearing the plague mask. And let me ask you this. Earlier this morning, I interviewed a doctor from Taiwan, Dr. Peter Chang, previously the advisor of the Taiwan Health Ministry on EU affairs at the European Commission, scholar who's got a degree from Harvard and London and Taiwan. He's just a very, very smart man. And I asked him, I don't mean to give away the interview, you can watch the whole thing on my show later, but his number one piece of advice was stop people coming to your country from plague countries. And his number two piece of advice was wear masks. Pretty simple. Neither of them involve a vaccine or a remedial medication like hydroxychloroquine or azithromycin, the two meds that Donald Trump proposed. Extremely basic stuff. Don't let people with the virus into your community. And hey, everybody, let's wear masks. Really not much different from medieval times. But isn't it crazy how our own politicians have said, yeah, masks, they don't work. No, we don't want to stop flights. The two basic things. Let me catch up here on the Super Chats. Gabriel Mainville, one day I would like to see you in Montreal for a conference for freedom of speech. I ordered the Libranos and I was surprised when my order arrived so fast. I would like you to sign my book. Well, Gabriel, that's pretty friendly of you. Thank you. I like going to Montreal very much. Of course, travel is sort of dampened these days, but I would be delighted to attend a conference for free speech, and I'm glad you got the book so fast. Thank you. Psycha Killer, $50. Well, thank you very much. What is the connection between Wuhan and scientists from Winnipeg being removed? Air Canada domestic flight of virus transported to China from Canada. Can you Google Winnipeg RCMP virus? If you just type those three words in, you'll get a National Post or a CBC story really quick. To answer your question, a Chinese national who was working, here we go, Canadian lab immersed in RCMP probe sent Ebola and another deadly virus to China. It's unclear if the transfer had anything to do with the reported dismissal last month of Xiangguo Chu, a lab scientist who co-discovered a treatment for Ebola. Can you highlight that lady's name and search for it? Because that story there, the Ebola virus transferred to China, was a decision made by the Canadian government, if you can believe it. But that Xiangguo Chu, sorry, I forgot her name. If you just type her name in, you'll get a story of when the RCMP came in and marched her right out of the office because of monkey business. I shouldn't say monkey business, it was maybe bat business or wherever the virus came from. Here we go. Chinese researcher escorted from infectious disease lab amid RCMP investigation. Public Health Agency of Canada describes it as a possible policy breach. No risk to Canadian public. Really? Really, eh? A researcher with ties to China was recently escorted out of the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg amid an RCMP investigation into what's being described as a possible policy breach. That's a nice way of putting it. Dr. Xiangguo Chu, her husband Ke Ding-chung, and an unknown number of her students from China were removed from Canada's only Level 4 lab on July 5th, CBC News has learned. A Level 4 virology facility is a lab equipped to work with the most serious and deadly human and animal diseases. That makes the Arlington Street Lab one of only a handful in North America capable of handling pathogens requiring the highest level of containment, such as Ebola. Security access for the couple and the Chinese students was revoked, according to sources who work at the lab and do not want to be identified because they fear consequences for speaking out. So it looks like Chinese government officials aren't the only one covering up facts about viruses, are they? That was a story from Canada last July. And short months later, the virus was released. By accident, on purpose, I don't know. I don't think we'll know until, like at Chernobyl, we only knew once the communist regime fell. I have a Viz element here called Choose Your Fighter. This is on different ways people mask up. I think the medieval masks were slightly better than these. What do you think of these? That's someone who has just taken a bag and put it over their head. How can you even breathe in that? That's a party hat, but you know what? I don't want to sound silly. How's that not going to work? It stops you from breathing in. I know that looks hilarious, but I'd give that thumbs up. Now look at that guy. There's a lot of comedy there, but he's not laughing. He can't get protective gear, so that's how he's doing it. I think I see a paper bag and plastic bag and gloves, and what is that on his pants? I can't quite tell.
Like a water bottle.
Like it's like a water bottle wrapping or something. And he's got the gloves. That guy ain't getting your Rona, I'll tell you that right now. Now here, I think this fella just cut a hole in a big old water bottle. That's almost the kind of water bottle you have at like the water cooler. And I can't quite tell if he's got gloves on, but he does. So I know that looks hilarious, but he's not going to have, the phrase they use is aerosol, like if you sneeze into the air or cough into the air, or if someone's talking to that vapor. I mean, we know our breath has vapor, right? If you hold a mirror up to your mouth and go, ah, you can see it's not steam, it's vapor. Well, that's what the cough, as I call it, is in. So those are very funny, but it's actually also very sad because it shows how unprepared we are in even the most basic way. And what irritates me the most is how the people we are supposed to rely on, the public health authorities, have said, oh, no, you don't need a mask. Really? They needed the mask in medieval times, and they wear a mask in Taiwan and Hong Kong and South Korea and Singapore, the countries that have got this virus under control. Yeah, I think we need masks. Do you have the drone vid from New York? So what gets me is people being told you can't go outside at all, even with people you live with, even with husband and wife. Take a look at this. Here's a vid. I think this is real. It's hard to say. It's from CBS, so you got to be skeptical. I'm joking. Here's a vid from CBS. Let's take a look at this.
The anti-COVID-19 Volunteer Toronto Task Force. Please maintain a social distance of at least 6 feet. Again, please maintain social distancing. Please help stop the spread of this virus, reduce the death toll, and save lives. For your own safety and your family's safety, please maintain social distancing. Thank you for your cooperation. We are all in this together.
Now, the first line there suggested that was a homemade thing. They called it the Volunteer Task Force. Do you want to play the first part of that? The Anti-COVID-19 Volunteer Task Force. So that's basically
the Anti-COVID-19 Volunteer Toronto Task Force.
Yeah, so that's some drone aficionado who likes to lecture people in a fake police voice. That appeared on CBS, but that doesn't mean it's authentic. Someone could have doctored that vid, uploaded it, and CBS could have grabbed it. I saw a lot of comments in response to that. One of them was Andrew Clavin of the Daily Wire saying, shooting that thing down would have been so, there we go. The only problem here is that no one in New York is allowed to carry a pistol. The simple joy of shooting that thing out of the sky would make the entire plague experience worthwhile. Matt Walsh had said, our dystopian future has finally arrived. Yes, some hectoring drone shouting at you while you're walking on the street. For months there, February and March, I was showing you these insane. Do you want to pick the top pinned tweet from Harry Chen? these insane vids out of China that look like, you know, stormtroopers marching. Yeah, like this one here. That's China. I don't understand. Why are you spraying the street? Like, why are you even spraying the street? And why are they like 5, 6 people deep? Is the first guy not spraying it enough? Why is there someone behind the first guy spraying it again? Do they break out and like? Why are you spreading this? Like, isn't the cough living in people that are in those buildings? What does this imply that it gets on your shoes or something? Anyway, that's a video I've been showing that video for months, and a lot like them, like these crazy videos out of China that are very dystopian. I'd say we're about 10 minutes away from that in North America, don't you? Now, there's a little bit of humor out there. Again, I think this is, people are bored and people are creative and everyone's a videographer now that we have cell phone cameras. Check out this, I think this is from the UK.
How you doing? Reached new extremes of how to sneak out.
That's very funny. Now, I think that was part of a shtick because he was hamming it up. I think that was very funny. But that's the state of what we're at. By the way, I see that Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, has been admitted to hospital, which is very scary. Suggests that he really is ill. He was quarantined at home, or working not at home, from his office. But it sounds like he's actually in the hospital now. Now, the reason I show you that drone and that guy running around dressed as a tree, which is like straight out of a cartoon, isn't it? Is that there's some really absurd social distancing rules being brought in. The people who refuse to just simply stop flights from China, the people who refuse to quarantine flights from China. In fact, I wonder if there's flights from China landing even today. As you know on this show, I've gone to the website of the Vancouver airport and the Toronto airport. I'm just skimming through the, can you believe it? Can you believe it? At 6:40 p.m. today, do you want to go to yvr.ca? Just like right this second. There you go. So look at that. At 6:40 p.m., Xiamen, China. Can you grab one of those? Yeah, CZ, that's fine. So China Southern, grab that. Then you can do this yourself, folks. Go to yvr.ca. That's the website for the Vancouver International Airport. Click on the arrivals button. It's as easy as it sounds. Scroll through. It's as easy as it sounds. And then just type that into flightaware.com. And you can see China Southern Airlines Flight 4019 operating as Xiamen Air 805. So this is a code share. It left Gate 17 in Xiamen Gaoqi International Airport 2 hours ago. You can see the little graphic there. So it's flown 1,045 miles. Total travel time is just under 11 hours, so it has just under 9 hours to go. And it will land at 6:21 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time at YVR, which is Vancouver. Scroll down a little bit more. So there you go. So it's now over the sea. I can't quite see. It looks like maybe it's over South Korea. If you could just zoom in there just a tiny bit. Yeah, so it's looks like it's between South Korea and Japan. And it looks like it then just cuts right over Japan. And maybe zoom out just, So it looks like it's got a very particular flight path just to go around Japan and then it follows the curvature of the Earth. You would think, why is it not a straight path? Well, because of course this is a two-dimensional projection of a three-dimensional Earth. It flies along the Aleutian Islands, that's part of Alaska, that little string of islands, and then it comes down south. If you can zoom in, it goes just under, in the Inside Passage, I think that's called. On the left-hand side, there is Vancouver Island. Yeah, zoom in just a little bit. No, that's not Vancouver. Yeah, that's Vancouver Island, yeah. So zoom in a little bit. So it comes in, and for some reason it flies right along the coast of the mainland there. And yeah, zoom in just one more if you would. Yeah, so that, and then it lands in Vancouver, and that orange and red, the yellow and red dotted line, that's the international border, obviously. Vancouver's very close to the border. White Rock, really Vancouver pretty much abuts Washington State. And Bellingham, in fact, is closer to Vancouver, closer to the border than Vancouver is. So there's a lot of action there. My point is that when this flight lands, many of the people on it will just go home to Vancouver. There's a large Chinese-Canadian population in Vancouver, but many of them will get on a plane and connect to Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, Regina, Toronto, Montreal, Halifax, whatever, right? Can you tell me what plane that was? Just go back there for 1 second, sorry to surprise you. So that Xiamen flight, I'm trying to pronounce it right. 787, that's a nice aircraft. Yeah. So that's the plane that is currently winging its way to Vancouver. Did you know that there's still flights arriving from Vancouver, arriving from China, excuse me, every day? Did you know that? I just want to take one more second. I know the time's, we've gone through half our time, but I'm going to TorontoPearson.com, and you can do this at home, folks. I don't have any special tools. I go to TorontoPearson.com, and then I click on arrivals. There's not as many flights, so there was a Hong Kong flight that was canceled. I'm just scrolling through. Because of geography, obviously, you're going to have more flights just going into Vancouver than to Toronto. I see a Heathrow flight. I see a Paris flight. Lots of American flights. I see a Frankfurt flight. London, Ontario, not to be confused. There's a lot of flights from Pakistan. In fact, I think there's 2 flights a day from Pakistan historically. I don't see any Pakistan flights today.
Shanghai delayed.
Oh, Shanghai, you say? Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, I missed that. So that's at 6:32. There we go. So a Shanghai flight via Tokyo, landing at Terminal 1, and it's marked delayed, so that will land at 7 p.m. So thank you, Justin. I had skimmed past that. So there you go. I believe I've just proved to you that literally every day, sometimes several times a day, flights still come from China. And I'm not referring to Taiwan, which is an independent country and which frankly has this virus locked down. And I don't even have a beef with South Korea or Japan. They've got it locked down. I don't have a beef with Singapore, locked down. Those people are far more careful. They screen, they mask, they take temperatures. I'm talking about Beijing, Shanghai, Xiamen, and other cities like that. I'm not going to rattle them all off. So we have flights winging their way to Canada right now. You are locked in your house. you'll get thousands of dollars in fines, apparently. Drones will hector you if you go outside. But why not bring in a 787 from Xiamen? Well, that's what we're doing. A couple of super chats. Let me catch up on those. Okie dokie. Real Men Fish, $2. Thank you very much. Bob the Monk, $10. I feel cheated calling this the Chinese virus. It should be the Canadese virus. We need to acknowledge Winnipeg and our government involvement. Well, we know that our Canadian government was involved with weird stuff with viruses. We don't know if it was with this particular coronavirus. Machiavelli sucks, $2. We should not have production in China anyways. Well, so much of our production is in China. It will be a lengthy process to repatriate it, but I think we must. Especially medicines. You know, 90+% of so many key medicines are made in China. Why are you making your medicine in China? And again, why is there production in an enemy country? Well, that's a very good question. I remember in the 1980s when Europe agreed to an oil or a gas pipeline, I can't remember which, from the Soviet Union. And Reagan was against this. He said, why would you allow your sworn mortal enemy to have the power to cut you off in a second? And in fact, we saw that the Soviet Union, Russia, did that later to Ukraine. They simply cut off natural gas to Ukraine in the dead of winter as a political weapon. I tweeted something the other day, maybe it was even yesterday, about how a Chinese government edict has ordered that a Canadian medical company, this was reported in the Wall Street Journal, the Canadian company has 3 factories in China, and they make these N95 masks, I think. And the Chinese government simply said, sorry, we need the raw materials for ourselves, we're cutting you off. Don't worry if you can't find that. But so my earlier point was, you and I have to stay locked up, but flights from China come on in. Psychic killer, the globalist Trudeau government wants to drag this pandemic out as long as possible, killing our economy and more. Yeah, what does Trudeau care? He's working from home, he's loving it. He's never worked less. Lots of government taxing, spending power, he loves it. Real Man Fish, Ezra, would you remind folks not to download Trudeau's COVID-19 tracker app that Kean reported on? Hey, that's a good idea. Do you want to grab Kean's vid? And I'll call for it in a second. But first, we have, I mentioned that you and I are on lockdown, but not the flights from China. Well, the Scottish medical chief, who's hectoring everybody over there, yeah, see, rules are for the little people, right? Do you have that track ready? Take a look at this.
I've already issued a statement this morning apologising unreservedly for travelling away from my home while restrictions were in place. As well as this weekend, it's important to be clear that I also was there last weekend with my husband. I did not follow the advice I'm giving to others. I'm truly sorry for that. I've seen a lot of the comments from members of the public on Twitter today, people calling me a hypocrite, people telling me about the hardships they've endured while following my guidance. My office has also received emails from members of the public who are making clear to me their disappointment and unhappiness at what I've done. People have told me that I'm irresponsible, that I've behaved as if my advice does not apply to me. I want people to know that I have seen all of that, and I've heard the comments. What I did was wrong. I'm very sorry. It will not happen again. I know how important the advice is that I've issued. I do not want my mistake to distract from that. I don't want to make the jobs of the police or my NHS colleagues any harder, and I apologise to them as well. I have a job to do as Chief Medical Officer to provide advice to ministers on the path of this virus and to support the medical profession as they work night and day to save lives. This was a mistake, human error, and there's no excuses. I should not have done what I did. I'm very sorry about that. I've spoken to the police this morning about this, and I'm sorry for taking up their time on this when it could have been avoided. Having spoken with the First Minister this morning, my intention is to continue to focus on my job.
It's a pretty abject apology. I take issue with two words in it, though. She says human error. No. Human error is when there's an accident because you miscalculated a number, or the plane crashed because of human error. The car crashed because of human error. You hit your thumb by accident, human error. You hit your thumb with a hammer, human error. You plugged something into the wrong plug, human error. Human error, no. I don't think deliberately flouting your authoritarian rules for others while enjoying your own liberty, that's not human error. That would be like if someone was in charge of enforcing prohibition of liquor and then they had a secret stash of liquor themselves. That's not human error. That's a conscious, thoughtful decision that rules are for the little people and you are the rule maker, not the rule taker, rule follower. That's a pretty abject apology. But she was apologizing for what she did, but not for why she did it, because in fact she sort of lied. Human error. No. It's not human error when you are telling everyone in your country, don't do that, 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 and then you go and do those things. That's not an accident, that's not a mistake, that's not an error. That is a choice that you make because you are the ruler, the ruling class, the boss, the authoritarian. That is not human error. And I saw an interesting comment, I think it was from Jesse Kelly, the American commentator, who's just really funny. Maybe you can find it. I think he said, work from home is the new learn to code. I think he's Jesse Kelly DC on Twitter. And what does that mean? Let me just, give me a minute on this. Oh, the minister actually stepped down? Oh, good. That's interesting. Oh, yeah, so that was the chief medical officer there. Did she step down? Yeah, I would think so. See if you can go from Jesse Kelly DC code, C-O-D-E, and then sort chronologically, you could find it. See that public health officer from Scotland there, she's having the time of her life. I'm not saying she's happy that people are dying or getting sick, of course not. But this is her big moment. She's a TV star. People not only listen to what she says, they obey her. She's telling politicians what to do. She's telling cabinet ministers, she's telling the prime minister what to do. She's telling the police what to do. And they're obeying her. That must feel so powerful. As a teenager, I always chafed at bouncers at bars. I hated it. I hated the fact that they would capriciously make you wait, but not you. Of course, if you were a pretty young thing, you could go right in. Or maybe if you put $100 or $20 in the hand of the bouncer, you go right in. I hated that, and I thought to myself, only in this time and place is this guy so powerful, and he knows it, and he's really wringing everything out of it. And it irked me. It irked me. And I say the same applies to these public health officers. Just as the bouncer at a nightclub, anywhere else, is not someone with particular authority or respect. I'm not disrespecting the job. I'm saying the capriciousness, the whimsy of it, the asymmetrical power of it. People want to get in the club, and this guy, for whatever reason he wants, says yes or no. Some of that's legitimate, by the way. You want pretty girls in your nightclub to get the boys to come in and buy drinks. But it felt subjective and whimsical and capricious. I did not like that, not being a pretty girl myself, and not particularly wanting to pay $20 to jump the line. These public health officers are anonymous bureaucrats, making a good public sector salary, but not millionaires. Well respected, sure, many of them are doctors, but all of a sudden now they are the masters of everything they survey. Like that bouncer who can capriciously say, you can't go hiking, you can't go to the park, or you can't go out in groups larger than 5. You can't go out in groups larger than 2. You can't drive. You can only go to the grocery once a week. You can only go to the groceries twice a week, and hopefully you have enough money to buy 2 weeks worth of food. So these people who are good enough people, but they're really ignored most of the time, suddenly have awesome power. And they're telling you and I what to do, and they're really enjoying it. But you know what? They're not following it. Do they believe the advice they're giving? I think they do. But they also know that, I don't have to. And that's what irks me. Did you find the Jesse Kelly tweet?
No, the only tweet he has about coding, I don't think it's the one.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
This is it, but I don't think that's it.
No, that's not the one. Maybe it was Cernovich or someone. But what does he mean? I bet it was Cernovich. Work from home is the new learn to code. I'll tell you what that means. You know that learn to code meme? When all these industrial blue-collar workers, typically in a coal mine or a steel mill, it was Cernovich. Work from home is the new learn to code. Because the condescending, smug elitism was, just work from home. Like I do. I'm a writer for Vox, and I live in Brooklyn, and I work on my laptop, so I'll just order Uber Eats all day, and I'll work from home, and why don't you? Well, for those 20-something Vox writers in Brooklyn, because some people actually work outside their home by necessity. They have to work at a store or a factory. Hundreds of thousands of waiters and waitresses and bartenders are laid off because they can't serve people at a table. Any store that has been deemed non-essential, the entire travel industry has been devastated. I'm talking about 75% to 90% destruction. There's a hotel just up the street here. We always, when we have guests visit us here at Rebel News, we always put them up at the Holiday Inn just up at the street. It's a fair enough hotel. It's well located. It's not too fancy. I went on their website to check their availability. Completely shut down. Like they're not even pretending. So how many people worked at that hotel until last month? Well, obviously you have the front office staff, you have the sales staff, you have the kitchen staff, you have the housekeeping, you have the maintenance, and you have 3 shifts, right? Because you have to have people there 24 hours at a hotel, not the full complement. But that hotel probably had 300 people working there. I say that because I remember when I was a waiter, when I was a teenager, and just to cover all the shifts, and people want time off and da-da-da, you had well over 100 staff working at the restaurant I was at. Obviously not all at the same time, but that's how many people lived because of the restaurant. The chefs, the wait staff, the management, the janitor, like to keep something going in the hospitality industry that's open long hours, hundreds and hundreds of people. Oh, just work from home, guys. Oh, you're a waitress, just work from home. You're a flight attendant, just work from home. So why is that like learn to code? Because the people who are saying it, they don't know what they're talking about, and that's such a condescending, oh, come on, you can do it. What's the name of that Scottish medical officer? I should jot that down. I didn't pay attention to her name. So she is getting her six-figure salary. She's having the time of her life.
Dr. Catherine Calderwood.
Catherine Calderwood, that's her name. I'm just going to jot that down. So she now it sounds like she's resigned. I'm guessing she's still on the public teat in some way. Hey guys, just learn to code. You're a 50-year-old auto worker. Just learn to code. Just sit at a computer and learn to code. You're a coal miner. Just learn to code. You're a waitress. Just work from home. Duh. Yeah. And this Catherine Calderwood proves that they don't even really mean it, do they? All right. I had MDA. Hi, Ezra. Please make sure you get a good lunch. Great to see your tweet last week. I'm not sure what lunch you mean.
I think the one where you went to that restaurant.
Oh, the one I went to Da Rosa. And I just saw some guy tweeting that his mom's restaurant was I like Portuguese food. Too much pork for me, but great chicken, great seafood, and great rice. There we go. Look how fat I am there. So it was sort of empty in there, but very, very friendly lady. So that's just Da Rosa here in Toronto. Violet Evergarden, 2000, I don't even know what, won, that's Korean currency. We, South Korea, is trying hard to help your country. First of all, Violet, thank you very much for saying hello. I don't think I've actually ever had a super chat from Korea before. So I was slightly confused what the W went. That's the Korean currency, the won, W-O-N. Second of all, I believe you. I know that Korea is a world leader, along with Taiwan, in dealing with this virus in a serious way, because my view is the closer you are geographically to China, the more clear-eyed you are about China's nature. No one in Hong Kong for a second thinks that Communist Party of China is on their side. We've seen for a year them try to brutalize the democracy movement. Taiwan, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, these countries know the true nature of China, not just its malice, but you can't rely on anything it says. So I absolutely, and that's why you'll notice when I go through those airport arrivals, I don't mention Taipei, Taiwan, Tokyo, Japan, or Seoul, Korea. Because frankly, I trust those countries more than I trust our Canadian government. Absolutely. Absolutely I do. Cindy Boerbali, $20. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Do you have the Kian clip?
Yep.
So here's a video that Kian did. Apparently Justin Trudeau wants you to download an app to your phone. Now, I should tell you, with a heavy heart, I deleted TikTok from my phone. I loved that app more than I like cake. Certainly spent more time on it than I do. I mean, on your phone, it gives you how much time you spent on different apps. I gotta say, TikTok was like my number 1 or number 2 app. That ain't right. But it was so much fun and so addictive, and so many little vids I found for you came from TikTok. but a few things were happening on my phone that I just thought, I wonder if that's because I got this Chinese government app on my phone. It's not, TikTok is a private company, but it's subject to China's rules, basically unlimited access by the government to their data. So I, with a heavy heart, deleted the TikTok. Well, guess who's learning from Justin Trudeau about having sneaky little things in apps? Check out this video that Key and Bexley did.
Justin Trudeau has released an app to the App Store that he wants you to download to your personal cell phone. Now, this app is supposedly designed to help stop the spread of the Wuhan coronavirus and share information about it. Now, Justin Trudeau, the last thing he wants to do is share information with you. You remember his press conference from the Trudeau Morning Show this morning where he said, just imagine how bad it will get.
I think people can imagine a range of scenarios that shows everything from everyone gets suddenly better within the next few weeks to this situation just keeps getting worse. There is a range out there, and just highlighting that range is not as useful or important as being able to get clearer numbers and clearer analysis of what we are likely to face.
Dictatorships thrive and grow in times of fear, and Justin Trudeau is doing everything he can to stoke it. He just tried to usurp Parliament's power last week, and now this week he wants a backdoor access point to every Canadian's cell phone. I'm going to read through the permissions that this app is going to give Justin Trudeau over your cell phone. Look at this. He wants access to your precise location, GPS and network-based. That's two different methods of your location, so he can be absolutely sure that he knows exactly where you are. On top of that, he wants access to the storage of your phone. It will read the contents of your SD card. Every photo, every video, every audio recording that you have on your phone, Justin Trudeau will be able to see. Now, he says this is only going to be used for health purposes, but it will be stored on a government computer nonetheless. It could even be shared with provincial governments. Now, I don't know if you're a fan of Justin Trudeau or not. Frankly, I don't care. Maybe there's some premiers that you're not particularly a fan of. The last thing you need, the last thing Canadians need, is giving access to governments from who knows where. Access to your full SD card, everything on your phone. It's not just that, though. Everything that you share on a network, this app will be able to see. Now, people around the world have issues with privacy already. Many people are uninformed about what Facebook and Twitter can see on your phone. An executive on Twitter can see your direct messages, but you think that they're private.
We can actually read your DMs.
So all your sex messages and your dick pics are on my server now.
It gets 10 times worse when it's a government who has arresting power over you in times of crisis like this, when they have every little bit of information over your life, where you've been, what pictures you've taken, and what text messages you've shared with your family, your friends, and even your business partners. The government has no business being on your cell phone, but that's not stopping Justin Trudeau from taking advantage of times of crisis like this to make sure he can see every little dirty secret every Canadian has. It's despicable what Justin Trudeau is doing in these times of crisis. Whatever you do, do not download this app, and make sure your family is fully aware that they should not download this app. If they have it on their phone already, delete it as fast as you possibly can. For Rebel News, I'm Cian Bexley.
An app go through your entire storage and what on your phone. Storage is like memory, it's saving things. Why? I've never heard of any app do that, by the way. Now, maybe I should be more attentive to my apps, but I downloaded the TikTok. I'll tell you one thing, I don't think TikTok was doing that. It's almost 1 p.m., so let me go through a few super chats. Holly Guy, $4, thank you. Sending love from Illinois, praying for you all. Well, thanks very much, Holly. That's nice of you to say. Same to you. Ron Voss, $2. Hey, Ron, how you doing? Thanks for saying hi. Inf MDA, $20. Ezra, please make sure. Oh, the lunch one. Yeah, I read that already. Thank you for that. Psycha Killer, $20. And $20 again. Wexit, Saskatchewan will be the fork in the road to stop globalism. Well, I think the world is certainly going back towards national borders. And of course, the UK Brexit was very important. That's an interesting story that was certainly bubbling along before this virus came. And with oil as low as it is, the stress on Western Canada is inconceivable. I am quite certain that in Alberta, the unemployment rate at this moment, which won't be reported for another month, is over 20%. And by the way, the national unemployment rate in Canada at the depth of the Great Recession was 19.5%. Not even quite 20%. I am absolutely certain that it is higher than that right now in Alberta. Just terrifying. Well, my friends, thank you for joining me today. Oh, there's one more super chat just came in. Justin's just going to email that to me so I don't miss it. In case you don't know, every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I do a produced show, so I'm not just bantering with you. There's the super chat there. R3D Was again, $2. Dr. Thomas Cowan 5G lecture. It's 10 minutes, worth it. All right. Speaking of 5Gs, let me close with a clip. This is a very short clip from Fox News. This is a U.S. congressman being interviewed. Take a look at this.
SARS came out, and they persist. But I digress. Back to the issue you're raising. In France, we were told yesterday on a conference call that Macron was talking to Xi, and Macron asked for 1 billion masks, and Xi said, we'll give them to you if you implement 5G with Huawei. That's who China is, and it's time the world wake up.
Did you get that? That Congressman, Mark Green of Tennessee, I think that's who that was telling Fox News almost in passing that China said to the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, sure, we'll give you 1 billion masks. Wow, that's a lot of masks. I forget what the population of France is. It's what was like 50 million or something. So it's bigger than Canada. 1 billion masks would take care of France for a long time. 65 million, sorry, I was incorrect when I guessed 50 million. So 1 billion masks, but quid pro quo, that's how it is with China. So A, we're going to infect you. B, we're going to sell you 1 billion masks. And finally, the biggest price isn't even about masks. It's that you put our Huawei spyware in your phone system. By the way, that tweet that I did yesterday, just that little clip I tweeted, report. China says it will ship France 1 billion masks, but only if they buy their 5G equipment from Huawei. I just did that in passing. And that tweet alone, I'm just looking at my stats right here, 1.4 million impressions, and I don't even know how this is possible, 1.5 million media views, which is more than impressions. One of my most read and watched tweets I've ever made, and I just had a one-liner. I didn't even say anything. I said, report. China says it will ship France 1 billion face masks, but only if they buy the 5G. Because this is so outrageous. It reveals so much about the nature of the Chinese dictatorship. It shows how this whole thing, even now, they're extortionate, they're malicious. Even now, they're looking to press their advantage. That is the truth. You know what? I got retweeted, believe it or not, by, what's the name of that very fancy, sort of dissident artist? Let me find it here. I can't believe I'm just missing the name right now. A lot of Chinese dissidents, Ai Weiwei. Can you type that in? AIWW. Go to twitter.com/AIWW. He's Banksy in the UK does sort of these. Ai Weiwei is the leading Chinese free speech artist. And scroll down a little bit more. Oh, a lot of his stuff is locked down. Isn't that interesting? He's really being targeted. So this would be about 20 hours ago. Just a little bit further. A lot of his stuff is being, oh my God, you know what? You can't even see it anymore. Twitter has blocked Ai Weiwei's, look at that, they're blocking that picture of friends. You know, thank you to the fall. You know, oh my God, Twitter is censoring Ai Weiwei. I just wanted to show you that he retweeted me because I was sort of proud of that. Yeah, there it is. So Ai Weiwei, I know that name you might think, well, that's an unusual name. What's a Chinese name? He's like, I don't know, he was a free speech activist who's been in trouble with the Chinese government. Did you see that every single one of his videos is being blocked by Twitter as sensitive material? I was just bragging that Ai Weiwei retweeted my thing because I thought that's sort of cool. I was just trying to make the point of how many people saw this. The following media includes potentially sensitive content. It's just anything that's critical of the Chinese dictatorship. Twitter is censoring Ai Weiwei. He's sort of the Salman Rushdie of China, except for Salman Rushdie was given protection by the British government. Ai Weiwei was given arrest by the Chinese government. I think he's in America now. I'd have to check. Twitter is censoring Ai Weiwei. I just learned that right now. I was just trying to brag that he retweeted me as a proof point of how many people were shocked by the video I found. But I think I've found something far more interesting, don't you? All right, it's 1:07, I gotta go. Great to see you. Thank you for everyone who chipped in the super chat. I hear from Justin, I have one more. Captain Picard, 333, Love Rebel News. Thanks, guys. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to go do some work. Tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern if you want to see my prepared show. Until next time, on behalf of us here at Rebel World Headquarters to you at home, goodbye, stay healthy, and keep fighting for freedom.